Tomorrow's Veterans Day. After seeing videos like this and reflecting on how much pain God has experienced and seeing the wars of humanity, what grief God goes through, and even reflecting as I was putting together this video on how many young lives were lost because of the conflict, because of the fall, because the root of evil in the world. War is such a horrible thing. And the sacrifice that people make to defend others, to defend freedom, even while war being such a horrible thing, God's heart also is so proud of the people who stand up against the bullies of the world, who stand up even willing to sacrifice their lives for the sake of others. Not just thinking about themselves, but their care for people in the world. So Veterans Day it's a day where we remember and honor those people who serve in the military for the sake of their country, who make sacrifices in many different levels, all the way up to sacrificing their life for the sake of their country, for something larger than themselves. So Veterans Day was established after World War I. It was originally called Armistice Day. It was the signing of the peace treaty with Germany, the armistice. And it was in November, the 11th month, the 11th day, and the 11th hour of 1919. This is when the Armistice Day was established, officially declaring the end of World War I. Later on, Armistice Day was renamed to be Veterans Day, to recognize all the people who serve in the military. I want to read from, this is President Woodrow Wilson on that day, November 11th, 1919. To us in America, the reflections of Armistice Day, now Veterans Day, will be filled with solemn pride in the heroism of those who died in the country's service, and with gratitude for the victory, both because of the thing from which it has freed us, the tyranny and dictatorship, and because of the opportunity it has given America to show her sympathy with peace and justice in the councils of nation. We know that the founder of our movement, Father Moon, was born in 1920, just after this foundation. And already we can see God had raised America up to be a leader in the world, to serve the world, as true parents often refer to be the elder son nation, to be a blessing to the rest of the world. So Veterans Day, tomorrow is the official day of Veterans Day. This expression, all gave some. So everyone who served as veterans gives some, makes some sacrifice. And some gave all, meaning they gave their whole life. This is an expression that's credited to a Korean War veteran. Saw so many of his colleagues die or be maimed and damaged during the Korean War. So Veterans Day is for the military. So we want to definitely be respectful and honoring veterans, those who've sacrificed so much for the sake of the nation, for the sake of us, and that we've benefited from. So as I was preparing this, and especially building the video was very emotional. And I started thinking about, there's so much gratitude that we have for so many people in our lives. Particularly thought of veterans who have sacrificed so much to keep us, have a free country and peace in the world. And it made me think also about the many people who've contributed to our lives. And that we should also just have a general attitude of thankfulness and gratitude towards these people. So here's an excerpt from the Divine Principle, our unification theological text. And it talks about the benefits that generations receive from the previous generations, from the predecessors. This is particularly in the chapter on resurrection. In the history of the providence of resurrection, many of those who were entrusted with the mission exerted themselves with utmost sincerity and faith to realize the will of heaven. Even though they may not have fully carried out their responsibilities, based on their devotion, they broadened the foundation upon which subsequent generations can form a relationship of heart with God. We call this foundation the merit of the age in the providence of restoration. The merit of the age has increased proportion to the foundation of heart laid by the prophets, sages, and righteous people who came before us. We benefit incredibly from those who went before us. If you think about it, we're living in an incredible age. The merit of the time that we live, the benefit of this time, the things that we have and even take for granted, the cell phone, this little computer that you're carrying around with you, everywhere you go, the fact that we can connect anywhere on the planet so easily, that we have the transportation systems that we have the economics that we have the wealth and prosperity and food that we have. It's all things that we are benefits. We are receiving as beneficiaries. So what I want to do just for a few minutes is to just consider the benefactors, the people who gave us and made the foundation for the benefits that we receive now. Because what I want to encourage and cultivate is this honoring and this appreciation for our benefactors. All the people who went before us and all the benefits that we have and that we can cultivate deeply in our hearts. Appreciation, honor, and gratitude. We have so much to be grateful for in all things. So the very first place when we look at who should we be grateful to, the very first place is in our family, right? And in our family, it's our parents and even our grandparents and our ancestors. So much that we have to be grateful. We're here, right? Because we have parents, because of our parents. And understanding and appreciating our parents and the generations that went before us, it's really valuable and sometimes hard to do. Especially when we hit the teenage years. I think all of us, we figured out that we really know so much, As teenagers, it's like, oh, my parents, they're so old-fashioned. They don't know what's up. Especially as teenagers, we become pretty arrogant, and looking at our parents. Recently, I've been getting some coaching and counseling on an area called generational healing. And it's looking at how, in order to deal with my own personal difficulties and challenges, a lot of them are rooted in my relationship with my parents and the people that went before me. Early childhood experiences and relationships. And a lot of that healing can come from growing in a depth of understanding, especially when we're more mature adults, of the nature of the challenges that our parents faced. The reality is, we know from the principle, and we know just the practical of life, is that parents do the best that they're able to do at any given time. We're all crippled, all handicapped, all suffering from a lack of the experience of perfect love in our lives. But every parent desires to do the best they can. Sometimes it feels hopeless. Sometimes we think we're doing good because of our understanding or what we've learned only to find out, oh man, that was a big mistake. But the heart and the desire is always to do the best we can for our kids. And yet, as the people, as the children, we often experienced what was missing and are most aware of what we felt was lacking there, without the focus on what we really benefit, what we did gain. And even to have a deeper heart, especially as we mature and grow older, that we can appreciate the reality of our parents' circumstances and situations. Many of us have parents and grandparents, especially those coming from Europe and Japan, who knew and experienced the reality of the world wars, particularly World War II and the Korean War and the Vietnam War. And even in this generation, the wars in the Middle East. To understand more deeply about the kind of environment that our parents grew up in. It's amazing when I think about my wife, Eleanor's parents. Growing up in Germany, two of Eleanor's mom's husbands died. She was widowed twice because of World War II, of the military. And even, imagine being a single mom raising your kids in war-torn Germany after the Second World War. How difficult. And each of our parents, especially when we look back at further generations, what difficulties they went through. I did this exercise with my mom, kind of going through and exploring with her growing up and her relationship and what she remembered about her parents and grandparents. And just coming to realize she lost her mother when she was really young. She didn't even know her biological mother. And so for the first few years of her life, she was actually raised by her grandparents. And then at some point, she went from being the little princess from her grandparents to being raised, moving to a different city, a different town, a different state, and having a stepmom and raising with her dad in a whole new environment. And then growing up, and her brother, who was the biggest sport, she often said, yeah, my brother and I, we were a team, against our parents, I always knew my brother had my back. Her brother, who when she just out of high school, commits suicide. How painful. And yet, many of you know my mom. She's she can get really nervous sometimes, but she generally tries to be a happy spirit and to bring a bright spirit. And she didn't, she wasn't a perfect mom. But when I think on what she dealt with and overcame in her life, her own experience of the lack of love, her own insecurities, I'm so grateful for all that she was able to give me, even being so hampered and handicapped. When we can appreciate the depth of pain and sorrow and lack that our parents had, it makes it much easier for us to embrace them and look beyond the shortcomings and start to focus on the things we have to be so grateful for. There's always shortcomings, but being grateful, it brings incredible healing in our own lives. Sometimes we carry hurts, the mistakes that our parents made, and we carry hurts that hold us back, even as we're adults. As we're able to go through and to heal that, find healing, forgiveness, and even the heart of gratitude for what they were able to give in spite of being handicapped and their own difficulties and suffering. So, honoring our benefactors, the first core essential one are our parents and our own lineage that we inherit from, that we benefit from the merits of all of our ancestors. So from the family level, then, if you look at the level of society, and particularly at the level of society, we think of the people who pioneered so many things and the elders in our society. Oftentimes, we don't appreciate the people who pioneered and laid the foundation for what we are benefiting from. There's so many people who made so many sacrifices that we take for granted nowadays. The people who sacrificed in the Civil War to create an environment of freedom. The people who sacrificed building the railroads and the highways all across America. The people who did so much to establish businesses and enterprises that we're profiting from now. The pioneers, like the founding fathers of this nation, who established an amazing constitution and an amazing system of government that we are benefiting from now today in this time in history. We're reaping the benefit from those people. And yet, today, there's a trend that we only like new things. We only like the young people. Young things are what's good. Old is bad and, old-fashioned. And there's kind of a disrespect now for old-timers. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Now, we do live in an amazing age where things are changing really fast. And to tell you the truth, a lot of times I don't know what I'm talking about. You ask me about programming the cell phone, I say, ask my daughter, right? And yet, the hope is that instead of throwing away the past and ignoring elders, that we can inherit from elders, and that elders can be the foundation, a strong and healthy foundation for the future. Because if we disregard and we lose touch with the foundation, with the elders, then we're like a ship without a rudder, floating along, going here and here, and just being blown this way and that. Especially with all our modern technology. It's even more important that we're really grounded and appreciate the work and the foundation of elders. Even in businesses, the founders who made so much sacrifice to establish a business, from a startup. Well, then those that come in afterwards can feel very arrogant. Oh, you didn't, oh, well, that was then. I'll tell you what you should do now, without appreciating what went before. Even in our church or any organizations, there's lots of people who've come and gone, made lots of sacrifices in the past that we inherit the foundation of. So we always want to be encouraging the heart of appreciation and gratitude for the people who gave what they could give and that we're benefiting from, that we inherit from. And then from the family level, gratitude for that foundation, the society level, and then when we look at the national level, well, this is where Veterans Day comes in. Recognizing the patriots and veterans who sacrificed at a national level to give us the freedoms that we have as a nation and promote freedom around the world. And this is Veterans Day. Honoring our benefactors and remembering that we benefit from the sacrifices that people that went before us made. How easy it is for us to judge others. Especially, I'm so glad that there's a movement in general in the culture now to appreciate and honor veterans. But, it's surprising how many homeless people are veterans. Sometimes you look at them and go, oh, why don't you get your act together? Without any heart or appreciation for the kind of suffering, the horrible things that they may have seen or experienced in their lives, the trauma that they've dealt with. So having that kind of heart and care for the people who have sacrificed so much for us and being grateful in all things. And then taking it to the world level, we stand on an incredibly rich foundation. And we want to cultivate the heart of appreciating the foundation that we inherit. The divine principle goes through and makes a lot of effort to help us appreciate the heart of God throughout the province of restoration. And the heart of each of the key providential figures. Like even when the divine principle talks about Noah coming. Well, Noah didn't come just on his own. He came on a foundation of the successful offering by Abel, way back then. And then the lineage from Seth. And then even though Noah wasn't able to fulfill, Abraham could come on the foundation of what Noah was able to fulfill. And even the foundation of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the ups and downs of the Jewish people, it was a foundation for Jesus Christ to come. And the thousands of years of Christian history, history of martyrdom and sacrifice is the foundation for this time and age that we live in, the time of true parents and the second coming of Christ. And the world stands on the foundation, the shoulders of the basis of moral and ethics from all the world's religions. So at the world level, to be able to recognize and appreciate the saints and sages from all the world's religious traditions. And at this time in history, as the Divine Principle talks about, these cultural spheres are now coming together. And if we have the heart of gratitude and appreciation for people from other traditions, other countries, even the other religions, then that heart of gratitude has the power to bring people together and healing. So if we have a heart of gratitude and honoring our benefactors, the people who went before us, so many that made such a precious foundation that we're benefiting from, that we inherit, my hope is that we can become good benefactors for the future, for the generations that are to come, those who are following us. If we have that kind of grateful heart, if we show and teach that kind of grateful heart, that honoring of all that went before us as the foundation, that we can, a springboard to lead us forward into the future, then we've done our best to make a foundation for them. So let's be that example. Let's lay that kind of foundation and be good benefactors for the people who will follow from us. So let me close with this from our true parents. Each of you needs to know clearly that you sprang from past ages and that you are called to build the future. Also, countless sages and saints shed their blood to bring you where you are today. And they are working even now behind the scenes, hoping you will increasingly develop this consciousness. Please join me in prayer. Good morning, Father, Mother God, our loving Heavenly Parent. We are stand in awe when we look at the foundation that we're able to inherit because of so many people who went before us. Tomorrow we'll be remembering the veterans who did so much and who sacrificed continually for the sake of this nation. But also to remembering deep in our hearts the foundation of our own lineage and the sacrifices our parents made, however imperfect they were, the desire they had to give the best that they could, that we can be grateful for that. And for the elders and the people before us that we can inherit from. Heavenly Parent, we're so grateful that you, throughout all of your province of restoration, never gave up on us. Even though your province was delayed so many times, always you were there to grab the victory out of defeat, to claim the good that was there and use it as a foundation for the future. Heavenly Parent, please guide us that in our lives we too can claim the victory, claim the good, not be stopped by the shortcomings and our failures, which so easily would discourage us. And I repent so many times when it's so easy to give in to despair and resignation. Parent, you're always there grabbing the victory. Please encourage in our hearts and minds that bright spirit that knows that every victory we can claim is something that moves your province of restoration and healing forward. Holy Parent, we live in such amazing times, and we're so grateful for our true parents who are continuing to move your providence forward. We pray for the victory throughout Asia and Africa and Europe and the Middle East, and especially Holy Parent coming up to this World Clergy Leadership Conference declaration at the end of this year here in the United States. Holy Parent, your providence is continuing to move forward, and we want to be the people who contribute to that. So please guide us with your heart, with your vision, and most of all, your love, that we can be those your representatives of love in this world. As your sons and daughters, together as blessed separate families, we offer this and determine ourselves. Amen.